enough, I think. It's enough, I think.
The United States is a dying empire that makes life unbearable for the majority of people who live here and devastates the lives of other people across the globe through its greed, its violence, and its control. It's time to grow up and realize we've never been free. Welcome to adulthood. It's not all we hope for, and we're certainly not alone in that. To all our veterans on this Independence Day who have sacrificed their youth and buried their friends for the sake of imperialist lies, you can remain on the fucking sidelines, wallowing in your moral injury, maybe kill yourself, or you can get stuck in and fight for a better world. And our generation might not live to see that, because we're about to get the fucking hammer. But it's not about us individually anymore. Liberalism has failed. You're either a fascist or a socialist or something unrealized now. There is no longer any middle ground. Those ICE detention facilities aren't inevitably for migrants. They're for everyone at this benefit show, everyone watching this video, everyone who's ever said free Palestine, fuck ICE, eat the rich, death to the IDF, guillotines 2028, and fuck the police. And Americans, as we stand right now, are absolutely not built for what's coming. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it and prepare over the coming days, months, years, and we invite you to maintain revolutionary optimism. As it's not about just you anymore. And humor, play are all going to be necessary parts of this years, decades, generations-long struggle for a better, more equitable world for everybody. And if you need a role model, look to the Palestinians. For whatever our end-stage capitalist empire is willing to do to Palestinians, they're willing to fucking do to you. So thanks so much for coming. Free Palestine, fuck ICE. Be an adult and stop celebrating the 4th of July. And just in case, also, one last thing. Just in case there are plainclothes cops in here, I'm looking for that crew cut, looking for the Oakleys at night. Fuck you, you fucking class traitor. Your time will come. Free Palestine, let's go.
Wow. That guy brings the heat. So welcome to the Green Life Stream. I'm your host, Edie Arndell. I'm here with my good buddy, Scott Free. How's it going?
Hey, doing okay, except I knocked us out of StreamYard 2 seconds before we're going to start. So yeah. I will be scrambling to put everything back in. It deletes everything. StreamYard is not friendly.
Sometimes, yeah. That's why I still wish we had our producer so we could just chat.
Yeah, but I do want to chat about that. So that is Greg Stoker of Colonial Outcasts, and he came to Chicago. He produced this anti-fourth show, a concert with the headliner was a local artist who I had not known. I want to get to know. It was great. Blind Adam and the Federal League. I'm guessing that, and he has a song about folks with disabilities and queers, and it's called We Are Everywhere. And I'm guessing he probably was diagnosed blind, if you can't see a certain distance. That's probably, I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess why he calls himself Blind Adam. But because he can get around. So but anyway, it was Greg. Again, we like to really promote people that we think do wonderful things in the YouTube spaces and in media. And so Greg Stoker, he writes for Mint Press, and he's got a great YouTube show called Colonial Outcasts, and it's with Mark Wayne. And we're going to end our show before Andy comes on with a interesting video by Mark Wayne about revolution. So that's coming up. So, but yeah. Just Greg is great.
And you got to meet him.
I got to meet him.
I gotta say I'm a little jealous.
He's cool. He's cool. But you know what? And it's so interesting because, like, in our world, like, he's a super celeb, right?
Yeah.
But the folks there, for the most part, didn't know him. It's not like he had massive crowds coming. So we're in a very important space, but it's not like massive. So, but he did a great job with putting that show together, and it was so wonderful. They had, I didn't even tell you that. Guess who was on the stage for a part of the show? You'll never guess.
I don't know.
Jim Madigan.
What?
Yeah, so they had voices of liberation, songs of liberation, with Andy Gottlieb, and Jim is in that group. It's kind of a collective. It's really a collective. So sure enough, here comes Jim Madigan, who's in the Illinois Green Party.
You're like, wait,
on stage with his guitar.
So for those that don't know who Jim Madigan is, he is the treasurer of the Illinois Green Party, longtime Green. Yeah. Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Super
that
cool.
Was so fun.
Alexandria says, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a great night. Oh my God.
And this dude is preaching.
Yeah, Greg does a wonderful job. He really does.
And he's a Marine veteran, so
thank you for adding that.
So he can say he has every right in the world to say he knows he was there.
I know when he jabs at the military, I was like, but it was like, that's his space, so he has the right to. Yep.
Yeah, and then you had a breaking news. Let me. Oh, I didn't save the clip. Did I?
Oh, I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah, you could just start talking and I'll pull it up.
Well, apparently there was a flood in Texas, and it wiped out this girls' camp, and like the count still keeps going up. There's a bunch of little girls missing, and some people died. We're not sure. This is still breaking
right
news.
now.
27. Yeah.
27.
So, and it's kind of funny because Scott, on Wednesday, when we were talking to John B. Wallace from the Shawnee Climate and Forest and Climate Alliance, I think it is. Was just saying, you were just talking about how floods are becoming super destructive.
Yeah, rivers are killers now.
And rivers are killers.
And actually, I have to qualify that roads turn into rivers, which are killers. I mean, I don't know that this was a river or a road which turned into a river, but both happened.
Sounded like they might have been camping.
Yeah. Right.
From what I read, but yeah. Do you want to scroll with this one? At least 27 people are dead in Texas. Yeah. Hang on, I'll blow it up. So I'll read it while you look for the next thing. I think we got the next thing on there. Rescuers were searching Saturday for more than 24 children from a girls' camp and many others still missing after a wall of water rushed down a river in the Texas Hill Country during a powerful storm that killed at least 27 people, officials said. Among the dead were 9 children. The destructive, fast-moving waters along the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes before dawn Friday. 26 feet, you guys.
Yeah.
Washing away homes and vehicles. The danger was not over as torrential rains continued pounding communities outside San Antonio on Saturday, and flash flood warnings and watches remained in effect for parts of central Texas. Some 27 people remain missing from Camp Mystic, a Christian summer camp along the river, said Dalton Rice. Wow. I can't even understand 26 feet in 45 minutes.
Right. No. Right. I mean, it is something, right? You can't even imagine it. It's just,
no,
it's so frightening that, and this is the climate catastrophe that everyone has been talking about, and the right wing and MAGA still denies exists. I mean, I
know.
It's astounding.
So that was from the AP, right? Yeah. So you can find it there. And sorry, it was breaking, so it's not in our show notes. But I mean, it was on my. I still do Yahoo News sometimes. Like I just look at the titles, but that's where we saw this. And that was as of 11:00 last night. Crazy.
Yeah.
But I traveled to Chicago to hang out with Scott Free and the Greens, and apparently 750,000
came with
Pride goers for the Pride March. the Green Party was in it along with GLN, kind of at the back, because it's Pride is also about protest. We have to fight for every scrap of human rights that we can get. And here's a picture of Alexandria was there. And so it's Anna Schiefelbein. Alexandria is behind her from the left. And then our brand new recognized candidate for Illinois governor, Griselda Romero. And then I'm standing next to her looking all serious because usually I'm smiling.
Recognized candidate for lieutenant governor.
Yeah,
Edie
that part.
Arndell.
So we're gonna make a great team. We really enjoyed hanging out with each other. We complement each other so much. Well, I'll put up the next one. Let's see.
I'm gonna put up video of the. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, just that shot because it was hot. I wore the wrong shoes. Lesson learned. But I was so honored to hold the Palestinian flag, and never heard people so loud. You couldn't hear the chants. You couldn't hear the music. All you could hear was people screaming when they saw us.
Yes.
Because it's about, stop starving Gaza. A lot of people were saying, feed Palestine instead of free. And,
okay. I didn't even catch that. Okay.
Yeah. Stop arming Israel. And it's also about, the ice raids. I saw the fire ice. Like, it feels like these memes are just like kind of everywhere, like everybody's thinking of the things at the same time. But I was very proud to walk with my running mate there. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, look at that, right?
You to go full screen.
We're getting ready to come up here in a second. We're behind this.
Full screen.
Yeah, let's full screen. Yep, I know.
Security. I was on one side.
Yeah. So that just shows when it started changing to Free Palestine and fire ice. Stop the immigration raids. Right in front of where it says starving Gaza, that's where we're all carrying the Palestinian flag.
Oh, here you come.
Yep. Anna was running along, like handing out postcards. And this woman that was next to us, she had been so hot. She was just dancing around. There we go. Yeah. I felt very proud to be there as well. Yeah. Alexandria. Yep. And Alexandria brought her Greek flag and her Palestinian flag, just like.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting and amazing experience. But then did you get the Budapest one? Yeah, I got it here. So you want to talk about this one, Scott? Can you talk about this one? Because I didn't look it up.
Yeah, just that. So what happened was Budapest, the government declared that there was no Pride this year. They were canceling. They weren't going to allow, and it was going to, I think, illegal to have a Pride march. So the folks came out. I think they said it was 200,000 people came out. So thank you, everyone from Budapest. We really appreciate that. But that's, it's just another good example how, the people do have more power. I mean, obviously this is just a representational thing, but no, they're not going to take that crap. I mean, this obvious bigotry stuff is gross. The Christians think they're on the right side, but I think there's something wrong. People are people, and they are themselves. And, we have shown that people, you want the pursuit of happiness, right? And you want to be yourself, and you want to be open about who you are. And so it's such a natural thing for people want. And that's also, pride, the term, it comes out of the concept that we were ashamed of who we were. And so to fight that that's why the term pride came. And as we know now, it's the most fun celebration in America and in any country. Pride that's the best. You just have the best time when you go to Pride. It's really cool. Now, I will say our Chicago group has added, issues. That's Gay Liberation Network in Chicago, who have added really, really important issues. And that's important too. So, you can have fun at the Pride March and also be protesting serious issues that are going on in the country. So,
yeah, I would say it kind of was a joy to be in solidarity.
yes.
That's the way I felt, So even though the situation is, not preferable in any way, shape, or form, I felt the connection, like walking down that street, I felt connected to Gaza.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
And I was so proud. Like today, I didn't add it to the show, but today I saw the guy, Avila, can't think of his last name, from the Madeleine, being interviewed.
Okay.
And the smile on his face, because he did a thing.
Right.
He did as much as he possibly could. He went to Israel, he got arrested, and he's not taking the credit. He's like, it's to focus on what needs to be done. It's not about me.
Right.
They tried to spin it first to be afraid, and then they tried to spin it that, we just want selfies. And he's like, every time he had the chance, it's about Gaza. It's not about me. And they're going to launch another one. And they're thinking more people are going to even launch. So at some point, they're not going to be able to stop it. They're picking fights with everybody, all their neighbors. Eventually, it's just not going to work.
Well, that was, maybe the issue there is they had one boat, and that, but right. If you got 50 coming in all in,
Well, and he said they've had 36 boats. One got blown up. 30 had been confiscated by Israel. So they stole the boats from them.
Okay. All right.
So it's not like we just need everybody that's got a boat. Just let's go.
Yeah.
But we can move on to the AP again. U.S. contractors say their colleagues are firing live ammo as Palestinians seek food in Gaza. So this is a new twist.
Well,
I mean, it has been reported that, it's basically just bait, which is so disgusting.
it is. It's
and now there's reports that, on anonymity, because they're afraid of repercussions, that they've been throwing tear gas and flash bombs and shooting in the air. And somebody said, can you play the video? I don't know if the video.
Oh, is there a video?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead. Yeah. You'll see.
Oh God. I don't know how much we should play this.
Oh, you don't see anything.
Okay. All right.
You just hear it.
Yeah, I just
somebody says, I think I got one. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's it's sick the way that our country's on the wrong side. It's just really sick. We're on the side of the killers. It's so
and they're on the opposite side of the American people.
Yeah, it's weird that, and again, I guess that's how the propaganda has worked for generations, that people who don't speak out on this, it's like they still think America's the good guys, that, the liberal world, even, they still think America are the good guys, and they can't grasp their brains around the fact that we're not. We are not, and we really have never been. We have never been. And, I was thinking this, with Israel, and in this country, maybe it's not exactly related, but the, the equation, equalizing Trump to Hitler and all the comparisons. And I think they're all really valid. But it's like, okay, so then let's go back to that time. Who was the number one country who saved us from Hitler?
Russia.
Soviet Union. Are we going to call Putin to help save us? Putin, help save us, right? I mean,
we can't. we can't now because we've broken that.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of making.
Yeah, I know, kind of kidding,
It's
but
just, it's like, again, people don't. Propagandization is just this. It's I
yeah,
mean,
what is that picture? Is that that's where they're making them
yeah,
go? So it's like
yeah,
a shooting gallery. Look at that shit.
I know it's.
Starving people, making them stand in line.
I can't. Oh God, it's.
But I still think that's why Israel bombed Iran when they did, because the whole world was focusing on their cruelty and their starvation of Gazans, and they're doing it in the West Bank too.
Flotilla was coming, and the army of people from different countries was coming.
The March to Gaza.
Yeah, March to Gaza
was arriving, and
Yep.
the people were coming across the land.
Yeah.
And then, oh, hang on, let's go bomb a country. So let's talk about that for a while.
Right.
Yeah, pretty disgusting. But I think the next thing we had. Oh, and by the way, please, I always forget to say, please like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. We're doing really good. We've even stopped reminding people, and we're constantly growing. So I just want to thank everyone for being here and sharing our live stream, because the message we need to counter the narrative.
So
we got to fight the propaganda.
We're at 521 subscribers.
Yeah.
So so please subscribe if you're not subscribed. We would really appreciate that.
And share to at least 3 friends.
No.
Or more. Whoever you think would be open to it.
Yeah.
So the next thing, which we love Caitlin here. Caitlin Johnstone, practice small daily acts of sabotage.
Okay, let me get that up.
I think it starts at 8 seconds and plays to 408. You could, if you want to increase the speed to 1.5, it still makes sense if you want to save time.
Yeah, I don't know if I know how
it's
to
up
do
to
that,
you.
But
just had a note. I thought we'd talk about the first part longer. We're doing good. We have a special guest coming on in like 35 minutes, so we want to make sure we get the news out
of
of
the narrative matrix. Do something every day to help undermine public perception of the empire. Draw attention to its abuses in places like Gaza. Get people laughing at its absurdities and hypocrisies. Spread distrust in the imperial propaganda services known as the Western press by spotlighting their deceptions and manipulations. Help people to recognize all the ways their government is screwing them over for the benefit of the rich and powerful. Facilitate the collective dawning of the realization that everything Westerners have been taught about their society and their world is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Help people to understand that it really, truly does not need to be this way. Use every means at your disposal to help open the next pair of eyelids to the ugly reality of the empire. Cultivate a habit of daily acts of sabotage against the imperial machine. There is always something you can do. You cannot defeat the machine by yourself, but you can do something every day to help tilt our society's collective consciousness toward tearing it down together. I still can't get over how we're being asked to pretend death to the IDF is some kind of hate crime. At the exact same time, IDF soldiers are telling the Israeli press they're being ordered to massacre starving civilians at aid sites. I've been seeing a number of people arguing that it's wrong to say death to the IDF because soldiers aren't to be blamed for the criminality of their government. This framing is only accepted in the West because Western soldiers also do evil things that our society needs to make up excuses for. As an aside, death to the IDF is an insanely catchy earworm. It's been dancing around in my mind all day.
And that was Bob Vylan, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Deliberately starving a civilian population and then setting up aid sites as a death trap to massacre starving people trying to get food is too evil to wrap your mind around. If we saw a supervillain doing this in a movie, we'd think it was dumb because it wouldn't be believable. It's like everyone's standing around watching a man beat a small child to death at a restaurant. Should we do something? Someone asks. You saw the kid throw food at the guy, someone replies. The man has a right to defend himself. But he's killing him. It's a fight. Bad things happen in a fight. Yeah, the boy shouldn't have started a fight he can't win. You're actually being quite hateful right now. And sure, maybe it's true the child did set the man off by throwing food at him. Maybe the child did so, fully knowing that it would send the man into a murderous rage, because the man had been horrifically abusing the child his entire life. Maybe instigating a physical confrontation in full view of the public was the child's last desperate attempt to expose the man's depravity, in the hope that everyone would finally see what's happening and do something to stop the abuse.
Wow.
But nobody's stopping it, because the man has spent years charming and befriending everyone in town, or frightening and intimidating them if that's easier. So now everyone's watching a grown man beat a child to death and pretending they're watching a fight, when they all know deep down what they're really watching is a cold-blooded murder by a cold-hearted man who should have been stopped and locked away a long time ago.
You can stop it there.
Okay. I
The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency is saying that Iran could probably start enriching uranium again with it.
Yeah, I think it's really important. The thing is, folks, there's so many details, there's so many complexities that they just don't know. Like, people had to learn, there's a barbed wire fence all around Gaza with armed guards ready to kill you if you try to leave. They bombed the airport, the Gaza airport 20 years ago. This has been building to this point for so long, and people don't recognize, they don't realize, they don't know what it's like to be a Palestinian in Israel.
Mm-mm.
They have no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
So somebody that I know personally, his sister was in Gaza. She needed emergency medical attention. She had to wait in a line to go through a checkpoint. The IDF soldier laughed at her, sent her to the back of the line, and she died in line.
Yeah.
This is who they are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's just one instance of thousands and thousands and thousands over years,
And I thought that was a really, really good analogy for October 7th. Maybe they needed that so the world would see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a man beating a small child. Well, the child
maybe the child did that on purpose. Yeah, maybe the child did do that on purpose so you could see what goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. So as always, my heart is with Palestine. But we have to focus on things here too. And Trump's big bad bill, which I'm going to start calling it big bad bill. Sabby Sabbs had a lot to say about it, and we love Sabby here. So let
me get that up here.
Yeah. It's just a huge grift at this point.
Get it up.
So it starts at 54 seconds.
Yeah.
The 222.
One of the reasons why those votes that Thomas Massie had decided to cave is because they really wanted to stick it to the Dems. They're willing to sell out your health, your life, just to say ha ha at the Democratic Party. That's how unserious these people are. Congress is like high school. This is absolutely ridiculous. They're willing to sell out their own constituents, and I say theirs for a reason, in order to stick it to the Democratic Party. What the hell is our government doing? Some of the things that this bill will do.
It's hard to put into words the horrors that we've witnessed every day during our time here. Entire families coming to
Check this
My
out.
advice for Democrats is less hyperbole and more specifics on what people actually care about. Let me give you an example. Scott, you care a lot about the
Tell me when
national
to
park
stop.
system. He's proposing a 1.2 billion cut to national parks since
222.
109-year history of national parks. More specifically, 20 people are being laid off on the Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky. 30% of Kentuckians are on Medicaid. 200,000 are going to be losing their Medicaid. 35 hospitals in Kentucky receive disproportionate Medicaid funding, and so they're going to be at risk. And 10% increase in utility bills Kentuckians are going to see. I think when you hear that, I think you're going to care a lot more than just hearing hyperbolic statements from Democrats. My advice
Yeah, you can stop there. And we you know, we had John Wallace on just on Wednesday.
Right.
National parks are a moneymaker for the state.
Yeah.
So basically they're cutting off funds and they're pushing all the responsibility onto the state. So basically they're just trying to just cut everything.
Right. They
It's
want to
so
just
awful.
gut the federal government completely in any possible way they can.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You can keep playing Sabby at 3:57 to 6 minutes. And you said you wanted to extend the. Oh, Hazel said John was a great speaker. Nice to see you, Hazel.
Wasn't he great? I mean, that was a great show, folks. Go check it out. It ran last Wednesday. It was fantastic.
So you start her back at 3:57, if you can find that one.
This is why I say you cannot trust a politician. At the end of the day, most of these people in Congress are going to do what works out best for their political career, even if that means turning their back on you and getting rid of your health insurance. Now, when it comes to the Medicaid, this is supposed to take effect in 2028. How convenient, right? How convenient. Notice it doesn't happen right away, a couple years down the road. So by that time, some people may forget that they even did this. At the same time, it almost makes you wonder if they're trying to help the Democratic Party. See, this is what I mean about these parties helping each other stay in power. Because for people who will remember this come 2028, they're probably going to be like, well, I'm going to vote for the Democrats. And then we just go back and forth and the pendulum just swings back and forth. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's not challenge to power. And people, when they go out and vote, they think that, well, I'm going to vote for this party this time. I'm going to vote for that one this time. And they did this, so I'm going back over to this one and da-da-da. And at the end of the day, you're still not challenging power. And that's what I mean. Both parties keep the power in place. Neither party is challenging power. They'll challenge each other, but they're not going to challenge Big Pharma. They're not going to challenge Wall Street. They're definitely not going to challenge the military-industrial complex. They keep it in place. And I want you to think about that when we see this clip from Hakeem Jeffries, because Hakeem Jeffries got on the floor, trying to do this filibuster here. I think he spoke for about 8 hours, right? To push back against this. It's performative. It's theater. He already knew that the bill was going to pass. I'm telling everybody this over and over. He already knew the bill was going to pass.
Yeah, you can stop there unless you want to play Hakeem, but I don't think I can.
No, it's not necessary. Again, it is right. It is pure theater. It's pointless. All right.
And then he makes a really bad joke about hip hop.
Oh God. Okay, we'll skip that.
Yeah. Sabby nails it. You don't even need to say anything else, really.
Well, we got one more of hers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting that set up.
Okay. I mean, that's what we've been saying. That's what I've been saying for at least 8 years. You know, it's a game. It's the same grift, and they keep putting a new face on it, a new spin on it.
I'm glad that she uses theater, because that's exactly what it is. It's theater.
And even good people at the lower level can't survive in the Democratic Party, because they will force you to sell out, or they will get rid of you. They're a bunch of users, you guys. Like, you know. Go ahead. Not saying Republicans are any better.
Did you see him do this when Joe Biden kicked people off of Snap? See, a lot of people didn't like to talk about that during that time because they were like, oh, don't say anything because it's the Democratic Party. But some of us in independent media were calling that out at that point in time. When Biden kicked people off, don't forget, after the pandemic, they made the announcement. Biden decided, okay, well, we're going to kick this many people off of Medicaid and this many people off of SNAP. Now, it's not as crazy as what's in this bill, but he still did it. Where was that same speech from Hakeem Jeffries then? Why wasn't he trying to protect people to keep their health insurance then? Because it was his party. This is the theater. When you know that something is already going to pass, they already got the votes, and then you say, well, I'm going to do this anyway, yada, yada, yada. If Hakeem Jeffries cared so much about people losing what they have, he would not have the donors that benefit from that happening. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't even support universal health care. I wonder why. And I would argue, if we had universal health care, we may not have been in this situation today.
Mm-hmm.
Hakeem, number one priority is Israel. Takes a lot of money from AIPAC. One thing I guess I can say about Thomas Massie is that he doesn't take money from AIPAC. But Hakeem Jeffries is very corporate, and he has the donors that he have are some of the same donors that his Republican colleagues have in Congress as well. They all there to keep the status quo. And that's why they don't want you to get any Green Party members in. That's why they don't want you to get any who are the other ones? The PSL people in. That's why, and the independents that get in there end up caucusing with one or of the two parties instead of holding a red line to maintain the status quo. So he'll be able to point back at this and say, look at me, I fought back against Donald Trump come midterms and come 2028. But don't forget, like I said before, you did not see this from him when Biden kicked people off Medicaid. That's how you know they're not really trying to challenge power.
Yeah,
Then he said this crazy mess.
Oh, you can play this if you want.
Oh,
It's kind of funny.
I got so many stories. I feel like I'm in a hip hop studio right now.
That's sad.
yeah, that's kind of tacky.
Very well, that's why people make fun of the Dems. That they're trying to be cool and they're just not.
Feel like it.
Because it's inauthentic.
Yeah.
You know. And I was having this conversation earlier with someone, you know, somebody was saying, well, that's why I could never be a politician because I can't keep a straight face. You don't have to if you don't lie. If you're authentic, you can just let your face be your face. So, you know what I mean?
And, you know, again, they're going to push AOC as the progressive as they, you know, as she probably runs for president. She supported Hakeem Jeffries. She did not try to block the previous House leader, help me.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi, right? They didn't do forced to vote.
Mm-mm.
So she supports this system of the corporate Democrats. So when they try to call her out like she's some kind of progressive, it's frauds.
Oh my gosh,
All
wait.
fraudulent.
What, Alexandria? Hakeem is apparently speaking at an event with the Lake County Dems. Boo. I don't want AIPAC sellouts in my district.
Yeah, gross.
Find out when and let us know.
You know,
Let's go.
That's the other
protesting.
thing that kind of surprises me is how bad these people are. Like if you hear Hakeem speak, a lot of them are this way. All he's got the abilities and the talent to do is repeat talking points. I remember it was the guy we had on as a guest who challenges everybody at the meetings. Oh my God, felt.
The guy from New York.
Yeah, he's running in the
Jose
Bronx.
Vega.
Jose Vega, thank you. That's one of
yeah.
my real. Speaking of lack of talent, I have no talent to remember names. Yeah, and you know he challenged Hakeem, and so when Hakeem is challenged, he doesn't have anything to give. So all he can do is repeat talking points, kind of like Kamala Harris. That's their only skill set is to be able to keep some talking points in their brain and then just go from one to the next to the next to the next. I mean, the guy's got no talent. I was shocked because, the Democratic Party really pushed him to be the new leader of the House. And when I saw him speak, I was like, oh my God. Woo.
Well, because they follow orders. It doesn't come from their heart. That doesn't come from their soul. It's not authentic. I probably won't have that skill to do talking points. I may at some point, but it's because I speak from my heart.
Right.
I mean what I say.
Yeah.
I
want to just go back. It's a little changes the subject a little bit. Like Alexandria had said, Bob Vylan makes some amazing music. That's the one really, 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 really cool thing about our modern world is that a musician can become mega famous within like 24 hours. That's the coolest thing. I haven't listened to Bob Vylan yet, so I will do that. But I just think that it's so great. And they were right. The cool thing about it's I'm a musician and a composer. It's pop music, so composer sounds
You're
so
a songwriter.
important. Songwriter.
Yep, there you go.
But he gets it. Death to the IDF. Death to the ID. He gets songwriting. He totally gets it. That was set as soon as he said it, it hit. So yeah.
Hazel's got a comment. Let's see. I feel like the Dems are at least 10 plus years behind the rest of America's political landscape, but somehow worse. They folded on just about every policy decision they had.
I think it's not that they're behind. I think that it's that they have to try to fight progressivism in any way they can, and based on what the new issues are that come up. So they have to figure out ways to fight that stuff. But it's the progressivism brings up the new issues as they come, but it's not just being behind, because they are still not at Medicare for all. Wasn't it FDR that was doing that? Right.
Yeah.
So no,
I think they're culturally behind, and they have no connection to regular people. I think that's where they're behind.
Well,
and they don't want any.
And again, I think that's their talent is to repeat talking points. So really what it is the Democratic Party goes out and seeks people that they can test for, do they think independently? Get them out. Are obvious tools, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever. Bingo, that's who they hire.
People that want a career, not to actually change anything. So did you want me to bring up that Professor Zinkus?
Yeah, she brought it up, and liberals went crazy with this because they were just, no, Biden didn't cut it. It's and Sabby even brought up the issue somewhat. It isn't that he cut them off. It is that they let something expire, because he ended the emergency for COVID. And then because this thing was set to expire. But again, the Democrats, that was the first 2 years. They were in power. They could have done something. They could have passed a bill. But they
at the end of the day, it's the same.
Right.
Functionally,
let it expire.
Doesn't matter. People lost their Medicaid.
Right.
Those are people that can't afford regular insurance.
Right. So again, and that's a perfect example of how the Democrats work versus how the Republicans work. The Republicans attack and make and know that you will feel it. The Democrats let something expire, so it just sounds softer.
Yeah,
and
overt versus covert.
Oh well.
Right.
Exactly.
Like our buddy Cody, and I think he's in Seattle. Remember, because of something we said, he made a T-shirt. He's like, Republicans stab you in the front, Democrats stab you in the back. And he's got the elephant and the donkey.
That was brilliant. That one is absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. So this is something I didn't get a chance to watch, so I'm kind of excited to watch it. The ice raids are about slavery.
Okay. Yep.
August 13th.
Yeah, this is a really, really good perspective.
Oh, let me put this up so people know. Let's go raid this. You guys, come on. Illinois Democratic County Chairs Association is hosting the brunch where Jeffrey speaks on August 13th, Springfield.
In Springfield. Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
let's
we need to
organize a
go.
protest around that. Absolutely.
I'm making a note.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alexandria, for that. That's, and Alexandria is going to be running in District 10 for U.S. House. So, and that's Lake County. And our Green Party folks are just the best. We're just having the best time in the Illinois Green Party, I got to say, because people are so involved. And Hazel is new to the Green Party, and everybody who comes in has got such great energy and ideas. I mean, incredible ideas. So thank you, everyone. So let me get this up here. Yay, Alexandria. Okay.
I still can't figure out why we're allowing this to happen in our country, but people are fighting back. They're finding creative ways.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
Oh,
Five to make one phone call with his family. I was like, what? Jose's this classic working class dad, big muscles, big smile. He loves playing soccer with his kids. Unfortunately, he's also an immigrant farm worker. And one day while coming home from the fields, I swung by and picked him up. I met Jose in an immigration detention center where I volunteered to give folks legal advice. The facility Jose is in charges him $5 to make a phone call. How does he pay for them? Well, he works. For a full day of work in this immigration detention center, they pay him $1. So he has to work a full week to make one phone call with his kids. So if you're wondering why they're going after day laborers and farm workers, this is the big reason why. American businesses don't want to pay these hardworking immigrants the minimum wage. They want to pay them $1 a day. And by the way, these immigration detention centers aren't run by the federal government. They're run by private for-profit prison companies who exploit the people inside to make billions in profit and then donate it back to Trump and the Republican Party. This has never been about deporting criminals. This is about slavery.
Yep. So that's that. I mean, again, it's that's the kind of videos we need so that people realize what's going on, realize what this is about, and especially the tenfold increase in the budget for ICE. I mean, that's what this is about, to set up private prisons. So, and then, again, since the 14th Amendment had the little exemption for if you are accused of a crime and put in jail, then you can have slavery. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. I mean, our prison system in this country is a massive slavery system. Folks work all day for the entire week and make about $5. Yeah, and they are doing labor for private companies.
Yeah, and Kamala Harris did that with firefighters.
Right.
And then when you get out of jail
she
or
kept
prison,
them in jail. She kept them in jail.
She kept them in jail. They made $1 a day to go fight fires, and then they couldn't translate that skill to the outside world. Hazel says, I showed up in a city near me, and from what I heard, they just started raiding Mexican restaurants. It's really scary.
No, it's I mean, we are in a really scary time. So I mean, revolution is necessary. And that's why I wanted to play this video. It's kind of long. And this is Mark Wayne, who is also from Colonial Outcasts. So that at the very beginning, we played Greg Stoker.
And then after this, we're going to have Andy Ellis on.
Yes, Andy will be on in 10 minutes. And so I want to play this video. Like I said, it's long. It's really interesting. It really gives a good perspective of the steps of revolution. And he jabs at electoral politics in the middle, but trust me, the ending I will explain. He doesn't jab it as much as he thinks he does. But I mean, I love Mark White. He's great. But here we go.
Okay.
You will not be voting your way out of this. So you might as well start getting radical right now, or stay where you are and just hope for the next election cycle. I'm sure that will work. The Trump's big, beautiful bill is now passed the Senate.
Okay, no, it is.
Which means it will be going to the House.
It's pretty beginning.
This basically means that the United States is up for sale, and that includes your body, your freedoms, your labor, your sovereignty, your property, your assets, your future, your children's future. It's all up for sale to the highest multinational corporate bidder. And ICE, which was established by George W. Bush via the Patriot Act after 9/11, expanded and heavily funded by Obama and Biden, and now solidified like the wide open receiver in a football game by Trump as the de facto imperial military arm within the homeland, is now going to make sure that the wet dreams of the Epstein class is enforced on your life without any constitutional rights protecting you. That's the bad news. Here's the good news. Good news is these old fucksticks within the Epstein class, also known as the ruling class, also known as the 1%, they are not ready for revolution. But we kind of are. And the reason why we are is due to the fact that the pro-Palestinian movement has done a lot of hard work in bringing people together against the ruling class because of the genocide. Because of your hard work and outreach in educating people, in showing the world what the ruling class is doing to innocent Palestinians in Gaza, you have woken up people that never before would have considered getting politically active. They have brought together everybody under the sun when it comes to ideology. You got conservatives, you got right-wingers, you got left-wingers, you got socialists, you got libertarians, you got constitutionalists, you got patriots. You have brought together people that never would have agreed with each other before, and now they're all on the same page. That is called the golden window, and that's my theory that I'm pushing right now. This golden window represents a moment in time where people are finally on the same page, enough to the point where a revolution is possible. So the question is, how do we cut the balls off this big, beautiful bill with this big, beautiful body of revolution that we have now formed? And I'm sorry to tell you this, but revolution is our only option right now. There is no voting our way out of this. There is no petitioning. There is no signing letters to our local senator. Those days are gone. Now it is revolution. And I don't mean that as a euphemism. I am talking actual physical revolution, but it is possible. And it comes in 4 steps, at least 4 steps that I've outlined. Step 1, unite et subvertite, unite and overthrow. You've heard of divide et impera. Now we're talking about unite et subvertite. Unite and overthrow is our only option. Unite et subvertite represents the golden window that we are now in. And thanks to the Palestine Liberation Movement, we are now in this phase almost 3/4 of the way. This is going to involve setting up logistics systems. This is going to involve setting up community self-defense programs. This is going to involve setting up underground railroads for people who are vulnerable to the police state. This is going to involve setting up safe houses. This is going to involve setting up communication systems. This is going to involve setting up code language for your local community. This is going to involve assigning people roles based on their skill sets. This is going to involve setting up bartering systems. This is going to involve setting up parallel economic systems so that we are not dependent on supply lines that the ruling class controls. It also means that you're going to have to learn to get the fuck along with different personality types. You're going to have to put down your ego to ally yourself with people that you normally would not associate with. And this is the part that Americans struggle with the most, because people in Gaza, they don't have that problem. They do not have a problem with unifying with each other for survival, but we do. Because we're Americans and we're egotistic and we're so caught up in our own feelings and our sensitivities and we feel like the whole world revolves around us. We're going to have to cut that shit out. Now, after we do all that, we're ready for phase 3, rebellion. And this is the part that might get a little spicy, might get a little dicey, but unfortunately it's necessary for an actual revolution for our freedoms. They will not give us anything. We have to take it. Now, active duty military, this is where you come in too. Unfortunately, you're going to have to make the hard choice of joining the American people in a revolution if you are given an unlawful order by the ruling class. I'm not going to give you a whole lecture about, oh, you swore an oath to the Constitution. Not going to give you that lecture. What I will say is, though, if you choose to side with the ruling class against the people of the United States, you will lose. You might stack a lot of bodies. You might do a lot of damage. You might last for a little bit, but you will lose because we outnumber you. And when you do lose, you will also be disgraced. You have millions of more veterans who will gladly join this revolution against you, and they are far more experienced. So understand that if you decide to join the ruling class against us, you are also facing highly experienced, unhinged, and unstable veterans. Okay, now that we've established phase 3, here's phase 4. Phase 4, we will be overthrowing the elites. We will be confiscating everything that they stole from us. Their wealth, their means of production, their property, everything will be taken back by the American people. That's phase 4. The beautiful part about phase 4 is that once that happens, we will have enough shit to the point where every American will be fully supplied with everything that they need for the next 150 years. That's the good news. See, the beautiful part about revolution is everybody benefits if we do it right. You have to understand that they have at least $30 trillion worth of wealth that they stole from us, the American people, and the entire world after exploiting it. So once we take that shit back, we will be good for at least 150 years. We will have food. We will have property. We will have farmland. We will have everything that they stole from us. There should be no grabbing for resources because the whole scarcity ideology is false. We are not overcrowded in this world. We have plenty of resources to supply everybody with everything that they need without having to break our backs at a 9-to-5 job every fucking day that pays us pennies. That's the beauty of revolution. The people that we will be confiscating shit from, we won't be missing them. It's not that many people. We're talking 200 people.
In this revolution, there will be no racial hierarchy. There will be no racial division. This is not going to be like the French Revolution. We will be kicking off the elites after this is done, because we are done with this shit. We know all the traps that they have laid for us throughout the years. We will not be falling into them anymore. This will be the most evolved revolution known to man if we do it right. So people in the Palestinian liberation movement, I need you to get out there and form a physical community wherever you are at, because that is your advantage, is that you guys are spread out evenly throughout the world. Take advantage of that logistical fact and start forming these physical communities amongst people in your neighborhood or in your life that normally you would never talk to. We'll be going more into depth about this on Colonial Outcast. We'll be offering more details about how to accomplish these goals in excruciating detail. So look forward to that. And I will be rolling out a project with the Black Panther Party about how we can do this. So stay tuned for that as well. As always, love you, fam.
So
Wow.
I know, right? And you know, it's funny. I wrote a note that was going to be trigger warning, trigger warning. This is like Russia 17, 1917, China 1948, Cuba 1959, but and
Yeah.
others because I don't have enough education.
And
should be on a
revolution
list.
doesn't necessarily mean at the end of a gun. We can revolt in all kinds of ways. That
Yeah,
means
but
nonviolent.
I mean, I think he thinks that there's going to be some
Well,
violence there. I
I
don't
can't-
think
I
he
can't
wanted to
speak for him.
soften it. Right.
Yeah.
But
For me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And every person does their part. But I
Mhm.
think the important thing I wanted to do is, okay, we're in the Green Party. We're electoral politics. Here he is dissing electoral politics. Look who he goes to at the very end. The Black Panther Party. They ran candidates. And I think my slogan that I think in my head is, I feel like the Green Party is, or maybe should be and will be, the organizing tool for the revolution, you know,
Yeah.
because Butch talks about that a lot, where, you know, if you're in the Green Party, it's because you care about all these issues. I mean, if you're in some organization that's working on a particular group, that's great. That's great. But if you're in a political party like the Green Party, then you're covering all the issues. And so I think that, you know,
Yeah. We need a green revolution. I did want to quickly put up something that we missed because I think it's so awesome.
oh, okay.
Muhammad Ali attending a pro-Palestine
Chicago.
rally in Chicago during the first Intifada in 1988.
There you
This is
go.
how long this has been going on. There you go.
Yeah, right. Well, and way before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's you know, I think that's a great way to look at the Green Party in that perspective. And I
Mhm.
also wanted to kind of tie the show with starting with Greg and ending with Mark, because they're both in the
Colonial
YouTube
Outcasts.
channel called Colonial Outcasts, and it's a really good one. Highly recommended. I think they're both ex-military also, so
Yeah.
that's hence their focus there.
Yeah. They're seeing it through a different lens. But
Yeah.
Andy is here.
Oh, great! All right.
So yay.
Hey, Andy.
Welcome, Andy.
Hey, how are y'all? How are y'all doing?
Doing
great.
good.
Is my
Excellent.
sound okay?
Yeah.
Sounds
Sound
good.
great.
Excellent. Well, yeah, it's hard to top that, right? Yeah. I was watching the whole show and I'm like, yeah, sliding right in, and then I was like, well, there's a burst of reality for you. So yeah, I am happy.
You may want to
be
angle it down a little bit. Your there you go.
There we go.
We want to see your nice face.
Yeah, I really, and like I said, the real reason I showed that whole thing is because right at the end he goes to the Black Panthers. It's like, yes, Mark, okay, don't be so anti-electoral politics. But they were
there we
both
go.
right. And you know, I don't know what's happening in he is in California, so it's going to be like the Oakland, and I don't know what they're doing these days in Chicago. Fred Hampton Jr. does a lot of community work, and he has a group called the Black Panther Cubs, and it's really interesting because it's very similar in terms of, like, to get in that group you have to write about 5 or 6 essays, so it's the real thing. But it provides assistance for the original Panthers, those who are still alive, so they're in their 70s, and you know. And so, yeah, he's doing great work here in Chicago. But I thought that was so great that he referenced Black Panthers. Electoral
that was
politics.
kind of intense there at the end, but
It is, you know. But
um,
I like that, and I always thought that you know, needs to be talked about. I mean, at some point, ICE is going to come and grab them since there's a tenfold budget. So at some point, that has to go down to like person-to-person meetings. But he said, he referenced the Underground Railroad. So, but I thought it was great.
So, Andy, I hear you're running for governor.
Yes.
I am. I'm a green. I tried to put in the box green running for governor in non-presidential year, but StreamYard wouldn't allow me to put all that down there. So yes, I am. I'm running for governor.
Yes,
And
in Maryland.
did I hear right that you were also joining the running for the top of the ticket club?
Yep. I am lieutenant governor. I've been recognized by the Illinois Green Party, and we have a governor candidate, Griselda Romero, and she was at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I got to hang with her at Pride. Her and Scott and Anna. Very, very hot. Very, very long day, but it was worth it. It was amazing.
And they are just getting their candidacies running. So yeah, just starting out. But Griselda's wonderful. I think they're going to make a great team.
Excellent.
Yeah, we kind of tag teamed the Uber driver, and by the time we got out of the cab or the car, he was sold on Green Party.
Yeah, he was enthused. It was fun.
So, sometimes that's what it takes, is that real conversation with somebody, not the text that says it's Hakeem Jeffries, give me $5, not the email that says we got to stop these guys right now, but the conversation with your Uber driver about why billionaires own both parties and it's a trap for the working people.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, this guy's focus was on his daughter. He goes, I used to be a little more involved, but I have to focus on my daughter. I go, that's why you need people like us in there, because we're going to fight for her too.
And he did mutual aid for his community. And we're like, it ties right into what we're doing. Mutual aid. Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, congratulations on that. I will be excited to hear about your campaign, and we will get the group of gubernatorial, I hate that word, the group of governor candidates and lieutenant governor candidates together and do some good Green Party work together.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The green team.
Yes.
Nationwide green team. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I hear you have kind of a 500-day strategy.
Yeah, we are so June 21st was 500 days until election day in 2026. And I am counting, what we put out was something that did two things. It laid out what we intend to do over the next 100 days between now and September 29th in order to lay the foundation for a really transformative campaign. We, if we get 1%, we stay on the ballot in 2020 in 2028.
Wow. We have 5 here, so it's brutal here.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of shooting for 5 though. We think, I think if we have the kind of summer that we could have this summer, where we get the support, we build the infrastructure, we bring the team on board, we could shoot for 100,000 votes. And 100,000 votes would be the best performance outside of the two-party system in Maryland since the Civil War. It would best an independent who ran in 1968 but was really a Democrat. It would do better than our best Senate and House campaigns. And, we think we're in a great place. We're at this for 2 years now. We've been traveling around the state. We think we're easily positioned, based on the work we've done so far, to get that 1%. To be the first Green Party candidate in Maryland to get that 1%. But we think if we can have a great summer, we can really have a 5%, 100,000 votes type of race. And I think if that can happen, we can begin a transformative decade in Maryland politics where we move toward a multi-party system that is more peaceful, more just, more democratic, and more ecologically wise. Because as you all know, everybody is tired with the two-party system. They see it for its bullshit, and they understand that it's a trap, but they're looking for something real to get them out of it. And I think we have an opportunity right now to try to make a run at that.
Absolutely. This is the time. There's no doubt. And you see it just in the energy of the people coming on board to help the Green Party. Yeah, absolutely. This is the time.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that now is the time, and I think these 2026 governor's races, where we can define ourselves not by our presidential candidate, like Jill's awesome, our presidential candidates are awesome, but our state governments are the places where we can really make this explanation about what we will do differently, because these neoliberals that are in charge of both of our states and want to run for president are, driving us down a path that sells out the working class, destroys democracy, is ecologically destructive, and has us aligned with war criminals.
Yes.
And that's got to end.
Yeah, I mean, here in Illinois, Pritzker, he was on the APAC board in the past. He vetoed a bill that was going to give workers rights similar to the Amazon situation, where they got to carry a cup in their truck and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he vetoed it. So he's absolutely anti-workers. Yep.
Yeah, and downstate, they are with what Trump's just doing. He's cutting funds to national parks. We're trying to get one down here.
Right.
To protect our wilderness. It's a huge tourist draw. People love to go camping, and then it's also good for businesses. Like if you go down there, maybe a day trip, you want to buy an ice cream, maybe you want to spend the night at an Airbnb. It's good for the economy.
Right.
Yeah.
And by not having it be a national park, we're losing out on funds. So
What
Trump's
would it
cutting
be?
of the national parks is cutting money for the state.
What would the national park be?
Shawnee
National Park and Climate Reserve. Preserve.
Climate Reserve. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So like part of it will be a national park, and then the rest of it is untouchable. Because if you watch John Wallace that we had on Wednesday, somebody sent me a message on Facebook, and I didn't realize he was in my own backyard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I think that's something I'm going to be learning a lot more about.
Yeah, he really covers just the way the laws work, and so like parks can allow logging, whereas the preserve would not allow that. And he says that's a huge problem. Is that's a lot of what they set up is it's just this pretending to be something for the public, but really it's just it's a jobs program for loggers. So yeah.
And our state is explicitly anti-BDS.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ours is too.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So Larry Hogan, who was the previous Republican governor who also wanted to run for president, was very eager to sign a anti-BDS executive order. And that says that anybody who contracts with the state has to sign a pledge that they would never boycott Israel. Yeah. And it says Israel or its territories. So it would not even allow boycotting illegal settlements in the West Bank.
Oh my God!
Right. And so when Wes Moore became the governor, they asked him, the same folks who got Larry Hogan to sign it, asked him, "Are you going to support the BDS?" And he says, "I stand with Israel, and the BDS movement is a threat to peace," or something like that.
Oh my God!
Right. And so on day one, I think last time we were here, last time I was here was December 4th. So much has happened since December.
Oh, wow.
Right. But one of the things you all asked is, what would you do on day one? And one of the things we would do on day one is, erase that executive order. You should be able to say, I am not buying stuff from Israel, and I'd like to contract with the state because I have stuff to offer the people of Maryland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So how is yours set up? Is UL's a law, or is it an EO, or?
I believe it's a law.
But I think it has to do with investing, right? Isn't it an investment?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's how we invest.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But we tend to invest in Israel bonds.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I keep thinking, like, that's money we're spending on something that's bad. What if that money was spent on something good?
Right.
What if an equal amount of that was spent on healthcare or housing or just anything that is for the people of Illinois? I don't understand why this is okay.
Or capitalizing a public bank.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. So we're going to have an in-depth off camera discussion that hopefully we can learn from all the work that you've done. So
totally.
Bring the heat to Illinois.
I think that being able to articulate a Green Party vision at the state party level, at the state government level, is so important right now because, we don't have the ability to deficit spend. So we got to figure out how to explain the things that we want without cutting half the military budget or modern monetary theory. But once we can do that, I think there's a huge hunger at the state level for this because folks people aren't responsive to voters at the state level. They're responsive to national parties, they're responsive to donors, and they're responsive to media narratives, and I think the power the Green Party can have at the state level is to be a strong and fierce corrective to that says you're going to have to pay attention to the people. You're not able to just ignore us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, is GCCC, are they working with the governors, or do we need a separate group to get going to?
So I am one of the co-chairs of the state and local version of the CCC, and I have a year term. And one of the things that I want to do is get like a governors club together,
right,
by the end of the year, so that we can articulate these state level politics.
We definitely need that, and we need to get that put together real quick, because that would be so helpful.
It all starts with the Zoom call.
Yeah, it starts with the Zoom call. I'm going to work on A&M right now. We got a presentation we do for the annual national meeting. But coming out of that, I'd love to see like small networks for governor, for state delegate, for state legislature, for local office, and I think we could get those together pretty easily, and they don't have to be complex. It's a Zoom call, it's an email chain, it's a Slack channel, whatever it is. It's just something so that we can stay in touch.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
So what is your 500-day plan? Can you?
Yeah, great.
Is it on your website?
It is. We put out a report. I think it's called Go Green 2026 500-day plan. Let me see here.
I don't know if we can share it or not, but Alexandria says between Griselda, which is our governor candidate, Andy, and Butch, we've got a strong lineup of governor candidates. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
So 500 days, maybe, I don't know. It was real creative when I made it, and I was surely going to remember it, but
that's why we write things down. Just saying. I have a notebook full of things.
Yeah, 500-day plan with some dashes. That's
Scott, do you think you can find it really quickly and maybe share it with the folks? Here I am being bossy, right?
So here's kind of what it looks like is, we sort of break it into 100-day periods between now and then, right? So between June 21st and September 29th is 500 to 400. During that time, we are hoping to raise about $50,000 so that we can bring on key campaign staff. We've got a young person that's been working with us for 4 or 5 years who's graduating this year and would be a great person to help us build a statewide volunteer network. He was a union organizer who helped, it was one of the key leaders in unionizing Johns Hopkins and their 3,000 person graduate students. And we have an opportunity to bring him on as our statewide volunteer coordinator that would not just onboard people, but would like upskill them and create a community and that type of thing. So we're trying to raise $50,000 this summer so that we can guarantee that we can bring him on, pay him a reasonable wage, help him pay off his student debt. We can't just rely on volunteers and things like that, And so we're trying to do that. We're trying to build the core team. This summer, we launched a newsletter a couple of weeks ago called Theory of Change. And Theory of Change is like where we talk about the stuff that we have to talk about, but never actually gets dealt with and resolved. So like, how do we answer the spoiler argument? How do we talk about what it looks like to run a green campaign where we're aiming for 100,000 votes and 2.1 million votes are out there? Why do we run a campaign? We know we're not going to win. How do we use that to build power? So, we got the campaign team. We've got the newsletter. We're launching a store pretty soon so that people can buy merchandise. And the goal with the merchandise is messaging merchandise, not my name, like my face on a T-shirt or something, right? Like if somebody wants to buy, a picture of me on a T-shirt, I will sell it to you gladly. But like we got these like stickers that say billionaires own both parties, vote green. We got, we made these, let me pull these up here. I got some props. I hope props are okay. We have been making these protest signs because, the Democrats keep putting these protests on, right? And so we have signs that say like billionaires own both parties, the Green Party is the future. Nice. We've got these like the two-party system is a trap.
Yeah. Those are great.
That's great.
There's a fossil fuels one, a reparations one, a Gaza one. So for all of those, we're going to make stickers, T-shirts, buttons, posters, and launch that as a store that gets that propaganda out there. Sure, it links back to my website, but people in Illinois may want a sticker that says billionaires own both parties.
Yeah,
I would love to bring that because I until recently, I attended the Hands Off and the No Kinks because the people that attend, they don't know that's the Democratic Party because they're hiding behind Indivisible.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
you know, which the
And-
Dems are hiding behind that. So it's like, you know,
And so
and they're very angry with the Dems as well. Like
Absolutely.
they're mad at them.
Absolutely. Like, and it's a good entry level volunteer activity, which is meet us at the No Kings protest and hold a sign that says billionaires run both parties. Right. That is a good way to have a toe dip in the Green Party. You know, you don't have to come to a meeting or write a bylaw or anything, right? Like you come to a protest and hold up a sign that says the two-party system is a trap, vote green.
And people love to go to protests. I mean, I've been protesting for years, and it does make you feel better. You feel in community. You're in solidarity with people that feel like you.
Yep.
You're right. Very entry level. And if the organizers come up and give you shit, they're going to be seen.
Yeah, and so far none have.
People be like, "Why? What's wrong with that sign?" Like,
right. And I mean that confronts that reality. So you know, infrastructure-wise, this summer we're building a team, we're raising money, we're launching the newsletter, we're launching the store. Visibility-wise, we just went 2 weeks ago. We went to 2 Juneteenths. Last week we went to 2 prides out in the Appalachian part of the state. You know, we're going to keep doing that. We're going to show up at protests with our protest signs. You know, we're going to do as many of these podcast episodes as we can. I'm going to get some of y'all's folks on, some of the Texas folks on, and to my podcast. So big push this summer to be in a really good place to start to basically be a year out. You know, like because September, by the time it's September, a year from now in September, mail ballots will be going out. Right. So 400 days out from the election is really sometime in September when the mail starts going out. It's not really, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so then this summer, we're also releasing our platform for a solidarity economy, our grassroots democracy policy, our public energy policy, and we'll roll all of that through as we go into the, you know, the 400-day mark, you know, so big summer, huge push, 100 days. We think if we can lay the foundation during these 100 days, we can have a year going at full speed. We really think we can make a big impact because like we were out in Frederick where I grew up and this past weekend. And, you know, when I grew up in Frederick, there was never going to be a pride, much less a pride with tens of thousands of people there, sponsored by the city and things like that. But we were out there all day and we had a great reception. My mom, who's a longtime Democratic supporter and activist, but supports me, of course, worked the table with me. And she went back and told her Democrat friends, like, you all better be careful. Like what I saw out there, there's a lot of interest in this, you know? And then we were at another pride out in Cumberland, which is really in the Appalachian part of Maryland, really in the Appalachian Mountains, and great reception out there as well. So I think people are ready. And I think if we can have a really awesome summer, we can really hit the ground running hard for the next year and put people to work, put people to work doing it. And then after that, 400 days to 300 days, we are going to be prepping for the launch of our lieutenant governor candidate. That's going to be at the beginning of the year next year. Once we do that, we can start a public financing push. And, you know, if we get the public financing, it'll be hard. No third party's ever got it in Maryland. But if we get it, we get like a huge cash infusion toward the end of 2026.
How does that work? I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay, so
asking for a friend.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So here's how the public finance system works for governor in Maryland. Once you have a ticket, that account files for public financing. If it gets 1,500 Marylanders who contribute $120,000 with a cap of $250 per person, you qualify for matches. The first $25 of each of those donations qualifies for like a 7 or 8 times match, and then the next $50 qualifies for like a 6 times match, et cetera, et cetera. So the goal is to spread that the $120,000 out amongst $25 donors. You know, and if we get that, if we qualify for that, say in July when we have to turn our paperwork in and we have to have our donations, we're going to get $600,000 or $700,000, right?
Wow.
And that means like that's a world-changing difference for a Green Party campaign. That means we can put people to work. That means we can get up on TV. That means we can have billboards, all of that, So we're going to launch that. We're going to launch that in January, right before the legislative session starts. So the 400 to 300 day, or the 300 to 200 day period includes almost the entirety of the state legislative session and includes the Democrat and Republican primary. And that is an awesome set of two things for us to raise awareness about why we need an alternative. So we are going to spend that spring and, winter, spring and summer, or winter and spring, talking about exactly what the money is buying, what outcomes it is securing, why people are making the decisions they're making, recruiting people to run against them, and using the sort of opportunity to illustrate the behind the scenes of what goes on in the primary and the state legislature to show folks exactly why this system is a trap and they need to get out of it.
Wow.
Awesome.
That sounds like a plan. Oh my God.
And then, after that, it is get the vote out, right? It's get the vote out and make sure that we have a presence in all 24 counties in the state, that we've got a volunteer system set up, and that we're actively contacting voters in order to get out. We had some young folks who worked with us look at the data about how different Green candidates and Jill and Howie and all those folks have done over time. So we've broken the state into sort of 4 quadrants where we know there are votes, where we'd like to get votes, where it would be nice to get votes, and where we're kind of not going to try that hard, right? But that'll help us determine where we send out mail, where we send out digital ads. That'll help us determine where we have door knocking and things like that.
A targeted approach to build it until it gets bigger.
Targeted approach to build it until it gets bigger. So, we know what the data says and we know what we know. And so between that next summer and into November, we're going to be out knocking doors in communities, doing all that stuff, So it's exciting. What?
I can't wait to knock doors, and I love going to events. Like I did 2 Pride events. I did the huge one in Chicago, but also did one in Mount Vernon. With my chapter, and then my chapter was also at the Juneteenth celebration here in Carbondale. It was kind of funny. I went and before we actually started, it was a block party. It started like 5:00 in the evening, but it was really hot that day. So I went walking around to see who all was there. And I noticed there was the Democratic Party table. I said hi, but I'm wearing my Shawnee Green Party shirt, so she knows what I'm up to. Next time I went through, she had like 4 people for backup. Like, I don't think that was planned. I'm just, I'm like, because I'm sure she thought she could just hold it down by herself, or maybe one volunteer. But yeah. And I was friendly to her, but I'm like, and we had a really great reception there. People are very interested, unless they're all in and still believe, what the Democrats used to be. I think a lot of the older generation still remembers when they used to be good, but the younger people are like, we know better.
And one of the things that I have been doing, and I know this is like anathema to political campaigns, and I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm pretty clear with folks about the fact that I don't think I'm going to be the next governor, and that I'm not actually running because I think that I would be the best person to be the next governor. I think actually most people who vote third party actually understand that as the value proposition when they vote for you. They understand that it is unlikely that you're going to win, but they're trying to figure out what it is that you're doing and how it is that it helps them. And so I've stopped saying, well, if you vote for me, I can win, right? Of course, that's true. But I've started saying, like, look, I'm going to work as hard as I can to do the best we can. But I understand the history of the situation. And no third party candidate since the Civil War in Maryland has got more than 3.2% in the governor's race, and so people go, OK, that makes a lot of sense. Like, that sounds about right. So what are you doing? And the conversation that comes after what are you doing has been some of the most productive political conversations that I've had with people in 10 years of doing Green Party stuff, because they understand that I'm not likely to be the next. Anybody except the most disconnected person understands that a Green Party person is not likely to be the next governor of Maryland. But if I can say, I'm trying to expose the corruption of the two-party system. I'm trying to explain how it takes your vote for granted. I'm trying to explain how it's not responsive to you. And the more votes we get, the more you show the two-party system that you understand that as well. And people have good conversations around that because it meets them where their understanding of it is. And I used to do the thing where I was like, well, if you vote for me, I can win. And on any given Tuesday in November, who knows what will happen. But I almost think that the argument that we're making, which is billionaires own both parties and the two-party system is a trap, requires an analysis about as straightforward as that guy who you had on the end of the last hour. And if we really want to be real about what we're doing, we need to have an explanation for folks that says, hey, here's why getting 100,000 votes for me this term is good for democracy, is good for your community, and shoots a shot across the bow of the two parties and lets them know that something different is coming for them. And if they don't change, they're going to lose their position of power and wealth.
Yeah, I think it is a good strategy. I especially when people, right, if it makes you look kind of silly to say, I'm going to win, and, you know, right, that can look bad on you. Now, it is interesting. There is a Green Party candidate, Nick Harris, in Wisconsin, who's running for Secretary of State, and his campaign is to win. Yeah. And because he actually, it's not just a dream. He's like, no, actually, we can. He looks at the numbers and says, no, that actually is a possibility. And so I think both are really valid, but you make a great point. Bring the campaign that makes you look like a solid candidate.
Yeah, and if Nick can win, if Nick has the numbers and believes he can win, he should for all intents and purposes, do everything he can to do that. Yeah. If you're running down ballot in a race that is for a town council where you have popularity and a base and things like that, by all means, go ahead and do that. But I actually think that, like, if I tell people I'm trying to raise $50,000 this summer, Wes Moore raises $50,000 in one night's fundraiser, right? Like, we got to be real against what we're competing against here and name the system and the way that it functions and name the way that capitalism uses the two-party system uses capitalism and unlimited campaign donations as a trap to stop third-party work in general, you know? And it's like, and I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but I'm saying for me, some of the most realistic political conversations I've had with people who are disenchanted with the two-party system has been a long-term conversation where we say, we are doing this to build a base so that in X number of years, we can begin to have a multi-party system, and that multi-party system will help make things a little bit easier. You know,
and what I love about it is also it's telling that particular voter, here is how your vote has power. Here's something where your vote will make a change. No, it's not about winning and losing, but it'll make a change.
And I do believe eventually we can win. So when I say Greens, for me, when I say Greens can win, I don't mean immediately. I mean, we can build the power so we can win in the future.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that in 2026 we're going to sweep Illinois, but we got to build the power. We got to like show, you know, out the Dems for who they are. You know, and nobody really knows that Pritzker, that wants to run for president, was on the board of AIPAC. And one of our new volunteers found that out. I didn't know it. I was like, wow.
And part of being able to build the power is to hurt these folks who want to run for president. I'm sorry, it's straight up it is, right? Like Wes Moore and Pritzker need to take some wounds in a gubernatorial race that exposes the nation to who they are if they're going to try to be our next presidential candidates. And the Green Party needs to focus on your race, our race, Butch's race, because it will matter what our argument pattern is when one of these people is the next Democratic nominee, right? And we need to be right here as a political party, putting our best folks up to challenge them right now, and not allowing the sort of, you know, argument that, well, you know, what happens if a Republican wins? Well, fine. Like, that's your responsibility, not mine. My responsibility is to lay out a vision for a better world, to listen to the problems that people have, and to give them hope that we can do something better in the future without just rolling back the clock to the last time the other party was in power.
Right. And that's the only way anything has ever changed in this country. You have to create a better narrative. You have to tell a better story and give people solutions. And that pressures the people that are in power. until they aren't pressurable, and then hopefully we can beat them. I
Right.
kind of think Butch might be able to take it though.
I
don't know. I have a really good feeling about Butch. If not, it's now or in close.
Butch is running a great campaign, and I'm really excited to see him doing it. And I'm really excited to see y'all's campaign. And Zelensky's running a good campaign in New Jersey. Is that his name? I think.
What's her name? Zelensky.
I think that's his name, but
Okay.
I may. The guy in New Jersey is running a great campaign, and it's and we've got to be able to spotlight the way that these campaigns are changing outcomes and not just giving people choices. For too long, the Green Party model has been, we're going to give people choices, but that's kind of neoliberal if we're not also changing outcomes, right? Like, it is like, if what we're doing is just about giving more consumer choice at the ballot box, but we're not changing outcomes in line with our values, then I'm not sure why we spend all this time doing it. And I think we have to think about how we articulate our campaigns in a way that makes sense to regular voters, that makes sense to activists, that makes sense to disenchanted folks, and that picks up people on those red line issues like Gaza, where, it is like the red line has been drawn, and those folks are not going back to the Democratic Party. I think in Maryland, a red line got drawn on this reparations question for some folks. I don't know if you saw this, but Wes Moore vetoed this reparations bill.
Yes, that's right.
I would love to talk about that for a second too.
Yeah,
but,
this is your hour. You do what
Absolutely.
you want.
Sure. So, and I mean, I think this is a place where I think we can run the type of campaign where we can think about what it looks like to run the type of campaigns that we want to run. So Maryland had a bill, SB 587, that was going through the General Assembly this year. It would have established a reparations commission to make specific recommendations to the governor and the General Assembly. The timing of it, and I'm always wary of something that needs to study, that's a commission, et cetera, et cetera. But this commission was studying the ways to implement the policy. It was not really studying whether they were due or not. That was part of it, but they're going to determine that it's due. So it was there to say what things are eligible for reparation, what people are eligible for reparation, what method do we use to validate their claim to that reparation, and what method do we use to pay things. Right? That's what the commission was going to study.
Getting down to the brass tacks of how it's going to actually work.
Brass tacks of what the policy looks like, right, at the state level. So it was a study bill, but it was a study bill that was going to study how to pay reparations, not whether to pay reparations. It was sponsored by the Black Caucus. The Black Caucus in Maryland is the largest Black Caucus in the country. It's about 1/3 of the General Assembly. And Maryland, is about a third Black. So we have a Black governor, only Black governor in the country. We have a Black attorney general. We have a Black Speaker of the House. So if there's any place where Black Democratic political power has consolidated, it is in Maryland, right? We also have a veto-proof majority in the General Assembly for Democrats that they've had for decades. So Black Caucus gets this bill passed. They're kind of excited because they got a reparations study bill passed. It's a big priority for them. Wes Moore vetoes it. And he vetoes it saying that we've studied enough. We need action, right? Like, so he sort of co-ops the radical argument about study bills and says we need action. And he says we have done things like help Black entrepreneurs, help HBCUs. We've directed this amount of funds to these folks and things like, not terrible stuff, Democratic Party, poverty reduction and affirmative action type of things that they've built their bread and butter on. But he sort of says that is for reparations. So what's interesting about this is most of the folks in the Black Caucus and most of the Democrats did not know he was going to veto this bill.
Oh, wow. They
thought he was going to pass it, or they thought he was going to let it go into effect without their signature or something, without his signature, something like that, and so I knew he was going to veto it. I may have been wrong, but I knew he was going to veto it.
How did you know?
I knew because I had talked to people who had been working on the inside of the bill and had been advocating in Annapolis all year and understood and had worked with him on things where he was not a good ambassador of Black community issues, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew, like when I say I knew, I could have been wrong, but I was very confident. So we set out at the time to sit down and craft our reparations policy, which was the alternative to this. We said we're supporting him signing it, and we want him to sign it because we want to be able to debate him on it. And, you know, it'll be great because the next governor will have to decide what to do with these recommendations. But I was pretty sure he was not going to sign it. So we put together a really good reparations policy, and we went to the rallies with the Democrats for the reparations policy, and we went to the hearings. You know, we did the whole thing, right? And, you know, made sure that people knew we were out there, made sure people knew what we had to offer. And then he vetoed it, and we were in a really good position when he vetoed it. I got in the Baltimore Sun about it. I got to go on conservative radio. I got to go on a bunch of other things because we had positioned ourselves well, knowing he was going to veto it. So as soon as he vetoed it, we put out a press release that said, you know, it's shocking that he vetoed it. Here's our policy, et cetera, et cetera. And it is one of those things where it is like, so now there's a decent number of folks who believe that we are the candidate for reparations because we've done our work on it and we've anticipated the political climate that is evolving in front of us in a way to position ourselves so that we could strategically work in order to point out to folks that the Green Party has had reparations in its platform for 25 years, right? That we have been running on this since the Democrats were refusing to even study it, you know, and that becomes a really good introduction for people to the Green Party. They're like, oh, well, I never knew that, but I'm holding a sign that says reparations now, and you're the only person running for governor who wants reparations now, you know? And so, you know, and it's things like that where I think if we work too often, we envision our party as entirely outside the political system. But I think if we can have allies with inside the political system who will help us to see where things are going that we can't see from the outside, we can position ourselves in a way which allows us to have really good message, really good reach, really good resonance, and to push the wedge on a question like this where we're right on it and they're full of shit on it. Sorry. But, like,
don't be sorry, it's fine.
You know, but like this is a position, reparations, Palestine, healthcare are three things the Greens have been right about since the beginning. And Democrats have fought us like crazy over because all three of those things are significant threats to their claim to be the progressive and the liberal party.
Yeah, it's basically the insurance model: delay, deny.
Yeah.
What was the third one? Defund. I forget.
Yeah.
Depose.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah. That's what they do. They talk a good game and then they do absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And you know, so like Governor Moore, he did announce some funding for some targeted community, you know, to give him credit, right? He announced some additional funding to the HBCUs. He announced some additional funding to this program that allocates state funding based on previous harm and previous damage that has been done. And he pardoned a whole bunch of people with marijuana convictions. You know, so this was his action that he said he was going to do, and he did it. You know, so like I'm not going to say he didn't do that. I don't think that is the reparative justice framework, and I hope that we can have a debate with him next year during the campaign about his approach, poverty reduction and affirmative action, that the Democratic Party has championed for 60 years and had some success with, versus our approach, which is reparations. I mean, the Republicans' approach is like cut taxes and screw the poor, right? Like, and you know, I mean, I think there are three different frameworks there. There is a cut taxes and screw the poor Republican approach. There is a safety net, poverty reduction, affirmative action approach that is the Democratic Party approach. And then there is a reparative justice, a healthcare and housing for all approach that is our approach. And I think that having a good debate about that in front of the people of Maryland is a good way to allow voters to make an informed choice.
That's a wonderful way to put it. Yeah, Republicans are slash and burn. I think Democrats are for reform. You know, they try to reform slavery. Well, it's still wrong. So let's not do that. And Greens are for, let's just make it right.
Yeah, and I mean, like I think I'm a debate coach. I think we've talked about this in the past, and so like one of the things that debate coaches learn is learn your opponent's best framing of their own argument and figure out how to answer it. So like I'll accept that the Democrats have made some significant gains, great society, good programs, some of these good programs over the last 60 years have come from a framework that is poverty reduction, affirmative action, and social safety net for those who need it. Like if that's their game, they should stand on that business and deliver on that business and being willing to defend it. Reparations are not their game, and I don't think they should co-opt the language of reparations in order to mask those things. I think they should just say, this is what we do, this is what our party is built on, we've done a lot of good stuff, and we're here to defend our framework. They won't do that, of course, but making the demand that they do that is part of the propaganda,
Okay.
Wow.
No, that's absolutely true. Bring it to them.
Yeah. And
hang on. Both Illinois and Maryland still classify marijuana as a Schedule I drug, which in my opinion unfairly affects minorities through racial profiling and drives up prices significantly. I mean, it's legal here.
It's legal. It's interesting. It's legal, but it is in weird schedules and like
It's the Schedule I. It's always
so is that that's because on the national stage it's still or the federal stage.
Yeah. I put the link in the chat for the reparations.
Okay, I'll share it
together. But yeah,
I'll share both of them.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just like I messed up.
The thing on this stuff is like I know a lot of people who may not be Greens but agree with us on a lot of stuff, and they work in government or they work in politics or they work in policy, and I think too often we see ourselves as insular and unpopular. And I think we need to build these connections that we have to people who are doing this work and may be disappointed by it, may not like it, and that type of thing, so that we are better able to position ourselves. We don't have to agree with them. We don't have to tell them everything, but we should understand what's going on from folks who agree with us on outcomes that are doing politics and figure out how to use that to our advantage. We need to get access to the media. We need to get access to voters. We can't just be reactive to everything. And so I think it's important that Greens think about, like, who do I know who works in the General Assembly and can give me a little bit of insight into what's going on. If you don't have any of those relationships, it's probably hard, but it's worth cultivating, I think, because there's no better place to be than a place where you're not surprised and everybody else is, right? Like, if everybody else is not, if you have an idea of where you need to be 2 months from now because you know where the story is going to go, and you can invest the time to do the work to be there when they get there, that's a great place to be and a great use of resources. And like, it's one thing if you're JB Pritzker, some PAC donor's child works for you and writes this copy using ChatGPT, and can turn it around in half an hour. But if you're our campaign, where I'm a working person that needs a wage, where our volunteers are working people that need wages, we can't turn that stuff around in half an hour. We need time to prepare it and get it right and things like that. So if you are not a billionaire and you don't have the children of other billionaires working on your campaign, it is really helpful to use your resources as strategically as you can. And I think this reparations thing is a place where we knew where the puck was going to go and we skated to it, and we were able to get a great story in the Baltimore Sun. We were able to get some press. We were able to get our name out there in front of folks that wouldn't have happened if we had to be reactive to it, because all of that would have said was, hey, Green Party's been talking about this for 25 years. I'm as surprised as you are, and like that message is not as good as we've been working outside of the two-party system. And we knew exactly what West was going to do, so anyway, that's my bit about reparations. That's my bit about that. So
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Alexandria just signed up for your campaign email. So
Yay!
Excellent.
Everybody sign up. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot to be learned. Even if you're not in Maryland, there's a lot to be learned. We can replicate these things across the country.
Yes.
And there's going to be a lot to be learned from your race. There's going to be a lot to be learned in New Jersey. There's going to be a lot to be learned in California. And we have to be able to build on the momentum of these campaigns that we pour our time and energy into so that we can learn about them for the next one. Because otherwise, the sort of starting over from the beginning each time is terrible. It's a vicious cycle that drives support away and makes it so that we're not able to build what we need to build.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are dealing with a little bit of that here because we had a very successful governor candidate about 10 years ago, but then it fell off.
Yep.
And now we're you know, so this is like our first go around, but I'm not going anywhere. So
excellent. And I think that not going anywhere aspect to it is key, right? Like, look, this may not be the year we get to 100,000 votes, right? It just may not be, but the necessity for a revolutionary political party that is going to transform the state to be more grassroots, more responsive, and break free from the trap the billionaires have laid for us is not going to go away anytime soon. And whatever you do this cycle, whatever we do this cycle, can build the foundation for 2030. It can build the foundation for beyond that, you know? And so it is like, yeah, the goal is 100,000 votes. But like, if the reality of the situation in 100 days is that's not a fair goal to aim for or to tell people we're aiming for, then we're going to readjust, you know, and you know.
But I think that the news tells us that this is the time and that we will get it because things are so. I mean, everyone is so aware of what's happening, and things are so intense in every aspect of our lives. You know, we covered the flood this morning in Texas, and you know, rivers are coming down and wiping folks out, and you know, some of the folks will never find, right? I mean, these tragedies are compiling, and then the bill passes, and Medicaid's falling apart, and I mean, our country is in collapse. I think that this is the time, and this will be the year. I do really believe this 2026.
I think both things can be true. I really do. Like, we don't really know how fast this is going to collapse. And one of the reasons that I joined the Green Party is because of the massive amounts of work of building the structure and having a good platform and being able to get on the ballot. The structure is there. And for when the collapse happens, because all empires fall, we need to be there ready to step in to help the people of the United States. We have to be the ones. And we welcome every other third party. So, because once we kick down the door, we want a multi-party system. We're just tired of the duopoly. Just, you know, they're in there for themselves. I mean, I keep saying it's a grift. It's a grift. They're there to enrich themselves. How do you go into a job that pays what $150,000 a year or something and walk out a millionaire?
Yeah,
it's a grift.
And so, I mean, like, how do you deal with this thing? Like, if the funniest thing is when their paid grifters call us grifters to me, right? Like when they have somebody on a 6-figure consulting contract in order to create the talking points about how we're grifting the system. It is like, what are you? Come on. Like, people need people. And I think people are okay to see it. We just have to take the time to show it to them. We have to take the time and the energy to show them that, because they're like, oh, well, that does sound grifty. He is asking for money, you know, and it is like, yeah, I'm asking for money because I'm a working person and I can't self-fund my campaign with whatever my grandfather built in the 1930s.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't have a billionaire in my back pocket, and we're not allowed to do that here. And that's why, should we win, we will work for you and not them.
Right.
That is the main difference.
And it is like, yes, we need money. We need money in order to pay people, because we don't have the, you know, children of billionaires who are working for us in order to get some credit for, you know, their school or whatever it is, right? Like, and
or
it
to
is
start
like
their career.
Right. We are a party of working people. Our volunteers are working people, and we need resources to pay them. You know, I put out a newsletter article last week that is, you know, talking about this 500-day plan. And it is sort of, the part one of it is called Funding a Viable Green Alternative. And I touch on this work that this guy named Bernard Tomas did. Bernard Tomas is a professor at Valdosta State University, and he wrote a book called The Rise and Demise of Third Parties, Poised for a Political Revival. He wrote it in 2018, and he looks at the history of third-party politics in the United States. And he goes through all these arguments that people make for why third parties can't succeed in the United States and sort of shoots them down. And at the end of the day, what he says is the main reason third parties can't succeed in the United States is because of resources. The United States political system is so cash and resource intensive that they're unable to compete because the media and the parties and the billionaires have created a system that makes it so that they have to give you money in order for you to be able to compete in it. And, you know, Tomas's argument is that this is a vicious cycle for small third-party candidates. They do well, they have good ideas, good people come on board, and then good people want jobs because good people need jobs. Yeah. And those third parties don't have the resources to give those people the jobs, and those people begrudgingly go off to the Democratic Party or the nonprofit sector or something like that, because those are the people who are willing to pay them for an approximation of the work that they want to do, right? And so Tomas says, right? Tomas says that the vicious cycle is that is about resources. And I think we have to break that cycle. And I think we have to be very clear to people that if you want to get rid of the problem of money in politics, it's not going to happen within the two-party system. We got to put our resources into third parties that are willing to call that out instead of willing to hide behind it, you know? And so I don't know. I mean, I think the moment is here. You're right, Scott. The moment is here. Mm-hmm. And the Death Star that the other side has built is so powerful that, you know, we may not make a successful run at it the first time, despite what we see in the movies, you know.
Yeah, I put up the donation link for ILGP, but I'm also challenging everyone to donate to Andy Ellis.
Yes, absolutely.
$26. That's all I had available. I didn't create one for you. I apologize, but yeah, I mean, you can go to his website. I put it in the chat. So go donate $26 for 2026.
Yeah.
And if you feel so inclined, you can donate it to ILGP as well.
And and when you all get your campaign account set up, let me know, and I will certainly make a donation to you all's movement.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we're working on it now, but
yeah.
We're very excited for you as well. It sounds like you have. I mean, you've been working on this for a couple of years now. It takes that long to really, you know, find out all the ins and outs of your state. So we're doing a crash course right now because my focus has mostly been national and international because Gaza got me back involved in politics.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and just watching what happened to them and knowing it's kind of that predictive thing that you were talking about. I know that it's going to come here, and here we are.
Yeah.
Like I knew this was going to happen. You know, Biden was building cop cities across the country.
Right.
Why do you think that was?
Yep.
So the clampdown was coming to a neighborhood near me.
Right.
You know.
The analysis of the Green Party has been right for 25 years. And we have known what is coming, and we have told everybody what is coming. And instead of stopping it, the Democrats have stopped us. And it is perhaps the most tragic thing that I think has happened since Ralph Nader in 2000, was that the Democrats have put more energy into stopping us than they have been stopping the fascists. And the fascists are here knocking down the door and in control. And we're not able to help them right now. Like in an ideal world, we'd be able to help the Democrats fight the fascists, right? Like in a world where things made sense, we would be like, we stand together against these guys. But we can't do that in this world because they have, you know, the two most effective things that the Green Party that the Democratic Party has done in the last 25 years is convince people that Ralph Nader cost them the 2000 election and convince people that there's no alternative. Those are the two messaging things that they have most effectively put out there that have worked the way that they are intended. And we're all now seeing the consequences of them doing that because there is no alternative other than them that can hold power right now. And they're a terrible alternative that is not going to stand up to anybody and not do anything other than cater to the billionaires who own their party as well, with the hopes that this time the billionaires will favor them. Yeah. Well, It's like they might favor you this time, but that's not going to matter for the working people. That's not going to matter for the people in Gaza. That's not going to matter for the people being deported, and that's not going to matter for the people who are imprisoned in this terrible economy, who are sent out into the fields to work at a 50 cents a day. I was watching everything. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But so we are in this position. We had our state convention the other day. It was our 25th state convention. Snaps to the Maryland Green Party. 25 years on the ballot is really hard. It's not a thing that occurs in the United States very much. And we were excited to celebrate it. And I gave a speech there. It was called Ralph Was Right. And the idea was, this is a thing that I've been talking about recently. You can't work a festival, a table, a parade, a protest without at least one person coming up and saying, what I know about the Green Party is that Ralph Nader cost us the election in 2000. And I used to get all defensive about this. And I used to be like, well, actually, here's how the math plays out. And I could be right as the day is long, and it doesn't matter. What I've started saying instead recently is, tell me, what was Ralph wrong about? What is it that Ralph Nader said that he was not right about? And most of the time, folks are like, well, nothing but the two-party system. It's like, well, you are mad at the two-party system. You are not mad at Ralph Nader. And if you are mad at the two-party system, do I have something for you, which is built in everything that is wrong with the system as it is right now. Everything that is missing from the system we have right now. Peace, justice, democracy, and ecology are woefully absent in our politics as we have them right now. And, if we had more of that, maybe everything would be a little bit better. But we're not getting any more of that from the two parties. And the only people who are consistently bringing that message over the last 25 years and are going to bring this message and have the ballot access to do it is the Green Party.
Yes. That argument was said to me when I went to the No Kings. One of the organizers came by to thank everyone, and I asked her if anyone was running against my congressman. He's a Trumper, and her excuse was, "Oh, we don't run anybody down here because it's too red," which tells me they're Democrats. So she admitted it to me, even though I knew already. And then I said, well, why don't you run outside the two-party system and run someone anyway, independent or third party? And then she got mad. And then she started the thing, well, it's Jill's fault we got Trump. And I'm like, that, and I'm like, well, what was her vote count then? Like, how much did Kamala lose by? And then I pointed out that, more people didn't vote in Illinois than voted for either one.
And what was Jill wrong about, right? Yeah. Like, let's have a debate.
Well,
with
that's not where they attack us at. But
I know, but that's what I'm saying is pivot back to that, right? Okay. Like for me, like I'm not trying to say what you have to do, but I'm saying for me,
I'll try it if it works.
For me, I've stopped talking about math and stopped talking about all this stuff, and I have started saying, what was Ralph Nader wrong about? Like, I don't care to have the math discussion with you. If you think Ralph Nader was wrong, that we shouldn't allow corporations to control the regulatory agencies, let's have a discussion about that. But I bet you don't, right? Like, if you think Ralph Nader was wrong, that we should all have health care, let's have a conversation about that. If you think Ralph Nader was wrong, that we should decrease the defense budget, let's have a conversation about that. Because that's where we need to be having debates and conversations. Because, in fact, a good number of Democrats do think they're wrong about that, but are afraid to say that because they use a crutch, which is, well, Ralph Nader, Florida 2000. And it's like, no, let's talk about why you don't think people should have health care. Let's talk about why your party is unwilling to commit to that,
After that, I said, well, Kamala lost because of Gaza. She wouldn't stand up for Gaza.
Right.
And she's like, well, I said, well, why didn't Joe Biden put a stop to it?
Right.
Well, what was he supposed to do? That was her lame comeback. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Figure it out.
What do you mean? Stop funding it. Stop running cover for it. Make a phone call like Reagan did in the 80s and put a stop to it.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Biden
and she literally, it's her rally, and she marched away from me. She like turned tail and ran.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like, look, Joe Biden is the most experienced president at doing government shit of any president we've ever had, right? And he could have figured it out. If anybody could have figured it out, Joe Biden would have known which, department in the Department of Treasury was the place that could have forced him to stop this if he wanted to. He knows all the levers of power. He knows all the ways, the secret tricks. He knows all the stuff that the Project 2025 people used to write Project 2025. And he just couldn't bring himself to say no.
Right.
And it is like, you had all the ability to stop this. I don't know.
If he wanted to, he would.
If he didn't want to. If he wanted, he knows how to run the government better than anybody who's run the government in my lifetime. Right. And if he wanted to, he could have found out any particular way in order to stop it. I'm not sure if Harris could have figured that out or not, but she didn't need to because Joe was in charge, right? And Joe could have stopped it. So I don't know. I mean, like I am in a place where I am increasingly not defensive about the work the Green Party has done over the last 25 years. And I'm increasingly believing that we must be the hope for the future because there's nothing else that has the institutional capacity right now in order to do what we need to do in politics, in order to make the arguments, in order to call people out, in order to run on the ballot lines, and sometimes in order to threaten to spoil people's nice little elections, right? Because that's where our power comes from. Our power doesn't come from just having good ideas. Our power comes from saying, if you don't do this, if you don't come clean on Gaza, if you don't stop the genocide, you're going to lose and destroy your party. Right. And like they have the power.
We have to challenge power. That is the point. That is the reason to be a party. Right. What other reason is there?
Right. We don't want to, going back to what I said earlier, like we don't want to just offer a neoliberal choice. We want to use the power of our party and the power of our ballot line and the power we're building to change outcomes for the people that we care about and for the communities that we're part of,
Absolutely.
So there. Soapbox Saturday for me. Soapbox Saturday for me. So
I love it. I love it. Hazel's got a comment, and then we can, if you want to hang on afterwards and chat a little bit behind the scenes, that's great. But if you can't, that's fine. My state house district I'm wanting to run for has only had one guy run for the past 4 election cycles. He has 0 opposition, and he's a weak candidate.
Whoa.
This is the low-hanging fruit that Anna's always talking about. She used to be the chair. Now she's secretary, but
run against that guy. And if you're in one of these places where the person never has any opponent, where they never have any, where they get through the primary and the general without having to win an election just because they want to do it, run against that person. And every time somebody in that district says, well, I don't even know who my delegate is, well, it's like, well, they don't have a reason to care who you are because they don't need you to get elected. The party has determined that they're going to be in power, and it's like, I think those races are awesome. Like the nobody challenges this person races. We had a race in Western Maryland, very red part of the state a couple of years ago where Democrats typically didn't run. And we had a person who was not known in the community, not active, not, a good person, but not like super, profile of a candidate. She ran and got like 30% in a state Senate race, right? And it is like those folks in the red areas hate the 2-party choice. They're forced to abide by just as much as folks in the blue areas hate the Democratic Party, but they're not going to vote for Democrats. Right. And I think if we can say, look, I know you think both parties suck, and the choice that you have is one of the 2 of them. But if it's not, if there's another choice out there like that is aligned with your values and understands billionaires run both parties and the people pay the price, like that messaging, it resonates with almost everybody I talk to who's not a billionaire. I'm not talking to a lot.
Which I don't get to talk to them too often.
Right.
I mean, ever.
I mean, maybe Scott is a secret billionaire.
No, last time I checked the account, I'll go check it again.
I'm missing some zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fell off.
Yeah. So like absolutely run against those people who don't have opponents and like find out every single one of their neighbors or every single one of your neighbors who feels like they're unresponsive and tell them that they're unresponsive because they don't have to care about you, You know,
Hazel's going to run in 2028. They're not age eligible in 2026, but they are going to run in 2028.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Hazel, let me know when you start running, and I got donation and whatever we can get for you, because as candidates, we need to take care of each other. We need to be a team. A party is a place to collectivize the resources of the working class, just like a union is. We need to work together on this and not be individuals running separately of our party. Our party is awesome. We have fought to survive. We have a vision of the future, and we have hope. And we need to tell people that, and stop telling them, yeah, we're sorry that, like whatever happened in Florida. I don't care what happened in Florida in 2000, right? Like, the time is to tell the people that these parties have had the opportunity. They've sold their souls to billionaires. We're not going to do that, and we're here for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All of my donations seem to go to Butchware, and next is going to be you, and I the Illinois stewardship. It's like a farming. They're trying to make it more regenerative and safer farming, and so we don't get dust bowls that cause wrecks on the highway.
Right. It's almost like
I'm striking everything else. Like, I'm not participating in anything else that is bad, hopefully.
Yeah, it's almost like history tells us exactly the moment of time that we're in right now, and how terrible it is going to be for folks. I was watching this documentary about the Gilded Age the other day, and I was like, hey, this looks quite familiar. And we need to actually look at the lessons, not just the lessons about what not to do, but in the Gilded Age time, there was a lot of people rising up against the billionaires. There was a lot of people who were willing to call them out and willing to say that the outcomes that were coming out of Washington and their state house were being bought by the wealthy, and willing to stand up to them, and frankly, willing to stand up to them in a way much more in line with the guy you had at the end of the last hour than just running third-party campaigns. Those things worked in synchronicity in the past, and it is like, hey, you don't vote for the right folks. We can't tell you what's going to happen when the armed workers that you're shooting get mad.
Last chance to make it peaceful. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like the French like to say, the people shouldn't be afraid of the government. The government should be afraid of the people.
Right.
Yeah. And look, his path is not my path, but I don't think that they're actually entirely different paths. I think that this is a revolutionary practice to break down the two-party system, which maintains the system that we have right now. And it is about the process of dethroning the billionaires who have bought both of those parties and returning power back to the people via the ballot box, via the streets, and via whatever else we need to do in order to make sure that they don't drive us off the cliff that they have set us to drive off of. I mean,
we are close.
We're very close. We're very close.
Yeah, if we got one tire kind of careening the edge right now.
Yep.
Oh, and I did want to mention the National Green Party's annual meeting is coming up at the end of the month. And so I just wanted to throw that up there for folks.
Thank you.
So it's a virtual meeting, so you can go and check that out if you want to be involved. And hopefully we can get an organization together that'll handle other governors, so we can get something happening countrywide for all of the governors.
I will. So we have a presentation. The state and local coordinated campaign committee has a presentation on Saturday that will be about candidates, campaign managers, and things like that. It will be a preview of some resources that we have and some ways that we can help out, plus some basic strategies, some things I've learned, some things Chibu has learned, some things some other folks have learned, right? And it will be a presentation that is happening that day. And then after that, we'll have second half of the year, we'll try to get some of these networks and resources together and things like that.
Excellent.
Yay. I'm signed up, and I think we might be participating in some way. I need more details. I think they're asking us to ask some questions, like with 1 to 3 questions. So I don't know.
We'll get that figured out.
Yeah.
No, Green Live Stream needs to be a presence. We got to work on that. So we got some work to do. But yes.
Yeah. So hey, this has been awesome, y'all.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eddie. Yes.
Thanks for coming. And I think any candidate that wants to come on a Saturday, any Green Party candidate, no Dems allowed, sorry.
Just saying.
Just saying. Don't even ask, because the answer's no. yeah, we can start doing Saturdays, kind of be a half news, half talking about our candidacies.
Yes,
And
because there's a
at some
lot
point
of
it might need to
candidates.
switch around. We might need to do news at one, because in the summer, especially next spring and summer, I'm going to be down at the farmers market and places getting signatures.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
you and I got to get this in while we can get it in, because the time for podcasts may start to wane a little bit. I know I want to say, oh, it won't be a problem, but like we'll see.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, censorship is real.
Yeah.
So they're not bothering us yet because they don't consider us a threat yet.
Well, I think he just means time. We're going to be swapped.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I want to make time. I want to as many Saturday afternoons as I can make time to come and talk to other great greens doing great green work. I'm going to do that. But like we got a lot of time where we got to be at Pride and got to be at Juneteenth. Got to be at this festival and that festival, spreading the word to the people of the states. We're in.
And then once petitioning starts, it's going to be constant.
Ooh, yeah.
And then it's going to be fundraising and knocking doors. Well, it's fundraising now, actually. And then it's going to be knocking doors and maybe doing town halls. And there's just so much to do. So much.
One thing we're thinking about doing is challenging the Democrats and Republicans who don't have opponents to debates. It's a free campaign appearance for us. It's an opportunity for I can't imagine a Republican who doesn't want to debate a Green, frankly, because we are all the things that they think the Democrats are, and so they can say, you're a socialist. And we're like, hell yes, we are.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and your point is?
And they can say, like, you want to sell out Israel. And it's like, whatever. We want a free we want a free Palestine. Right? Like, in some ways, I think Republicans debating Greens is great for both of us, right? Because we can show that we're not just going after Democrats, but that we think both parties are a part of the problem. And they get to argue against who they think they're arguing against anyway, and so I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if have you seen that, there's a movie from like the early 2000s that Chris Rock did that's called Head of State. And he is Mays Gilliam, who's a DC alderman who gets thrust into the presidential debate. Okay. He is a Democrat, but he is very much an underdog, like an insurgent candidate. And he's trying to get the people to debate him. He and his brother, Bernie Mac plays his brother. He and his brother are the ticket, and they're trying to get the other side to debate them. And the short version of this is the way they do it is they just like make fun of him until he will end up debating them. They're like standing outside of his house telling like your mama jokes and like showing up at his events being like, this shit won't debate me. And I think some of that theater is kind of fun, right? Like,
there you go.
Kevin Zeese, last thing I'll say, and then we can start to wrap up. Kevin Zeese did this thing one time where he was addressing money in politics, and he hired some folks to dress up as like fancy waiters with silver trays and walk around and follow the politicians around. And they were actors. They were actors that were following them around and being like, sir, exactly. And, doing some of that theater and doing some of that drama that is fun. That is a fun way to make the point that gets attention and things like that.
Yep.
It's absolutely stuff that we're going to do because this can't all be,
gloom and doom. Yeah.
Gloom and doom. It's got to be fun.
Well, because challenge and power can be fun. I mean, it is a worthwhile thing to do. It brings me joy to like push back on them. I have to say, people say I smile a lot. That's because I am happy to be here to be fighting the good fight. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Like it is good to do the right work.
Yes, absolutely.
Much better than doom scrolling on Instagram and being upset. Absolutely. Not saying you shouldn't pay attention, but you can't live there. So, well, thank you, Andy. Thank you. If you want to hang on after to chat, that's cool.
And thank everyone for joining us in the chat. We really appreciate it. We didn't put up all the chats, but we love that you're here.
We really appreciate all of you. Absolutely. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday night at 7.
All right.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
An uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising. Fight the power. It's an uprising, uprising.